The human spirit triumphs over sorrow, evil, malevolence, and ultimately over death. Hello and welcome. This is episode 32 of Escape the J-Curve and I am your host Rohan Nag. I am publishing after a few days and sorry for the break. It was my birthday week and my parents have come over to where I stay and I was just taking a couple of days off to celebrate my birthday. But today I'm going to continue on my epiphany series. I've started off in the last episode where I started sharing very, very important realizations and epiphanies and learnings that I've had in my life, and I believe it's important for me to share those. And today, I'm going to talk about why it's foolish to chase happiness. So, everywhere I look, people are selling other people on happiness. Your life is incomplete or completely meaningless if you are not happy all the time, every day. Be it mainstream media, be it self-help gurus, be it social media influencers, be it movies or any literature, or just people around you, they are selling the idea of being happy or chasing happy or happiness being the most important goal one should aspire towards. But I believe this idea of chasing happiness is deeply flawed. And let me tell you why. In my mid-20s, I was diagnosed with clinical depression. I was telling you about my tough relationship in my last episode, where I had a very, very bad breakup in my mid-20s after a long relationship. And that was the starting point of the depression. And I felt bad for a very long time. For months, I was hopeless. I did not have anything good to look towards, and it all felt very dark, very nihilistic, very end of the world kind of a feel. And what I decided to do was I went ahead and made an appointment with a psychologist. That was really helpful, but it did not cure my depression. But what happened was my psychologist listened to my problems, or what I thought my problems were back then anyway. I had no idea. I was quite young and naive. And I used to have counseling sessions where I would talk about my problems or what I thought were my problems at the time, like my relationship going bad and other things. And she would listen to those, give some ideas on how to handle and tackle those issues, and also how to medicate myself. So she suggested a medication so that I would not feel this feeling of nothingness, essentially. That I would not recommend that medication to anyone. That was probably one of the worst times in my life. Not only was I depressed, but the medication almost made me like a vegetable. I had no energy, no personal thinking or anything. So I was completely, I could not think for myself. I was dull, I was numb, I could not feel anything. It was a pretty bad time. And what happened after that period is I decided that I am not getting better and I could not be on this medication longer. So I did a research on the internet on what are the causes of depression and why people get depressed and how to get out of it without having to medicate yourself, because that was really painful because I had no energy, nothing going on. I was just a blank vessel with no emotions, no feelings, no goals, no aspirations when I was on that medication. It was really, really, really bad. So I found that there were quite a few reasons for depression. One of them could be physical or biological reasons, like your nutrition is not what it should be. You're consuming a lot of junk food and you are missing out on essential minerals. That could be one reason of depression. It could be related to your sleep. It could be related to stress. It could be related to a lack of exercise and a million other physical reasons. And what I found that happiness or lack of it could also be related to a number of psychological issues like childhood trauma, which got magnified when I broke up, or it could be deep-rooted subconscious insecurities, or it just could be your brain telling you that you're not living the life that you should be living. You're not being the best version of yourself. You're not doing something to become the best version of yourself. And that probably was my reason why I was so depressed at the time. I figured out that there were my psychological causes for depression were more important than the physical causes, and I thought about a lot of things like nihilism. So just before my breakup, I was doing some studies on nihilistic material like Franz Kafka and so on and so forth, which sort of it sells the idea that life is meaningless, essentially. That's one of those things. Other things that bothered me were my lack of discipline. I didn't have any worthy or meaningful goals in my mid-20s, a lot of bad habits, a bad self-image from, being bullied in school that also carried a lot of trauma with it, immature and naive worldview. So I expected the world to be a certain way, but in reality, the reality world does not function like that at all. It was completely different from what I had imagined. So those ideas got broken down during that period of my life, and that was the reason for the depression, more or less. So I was not moving forward. I did not have any big meaningful goals in my life. There were a lot of bad ideas in my head about how the world is, which it's not. And all of them were being fixed at that time. So when I realized, all these things, surprisingly, my depression started to go away. But there was one huge realization that helped me deal with this depression. And it took me, I think, a few months, if not a year, to realize this. And that helped me the most with my depression. And that realization where life has a lot of challenges. And when we face those, we're not always going to be happy. But the constant need to be happy is the thing that was really destroying me. So if I had just let it land that, okay, this is a tough time in my life, there are lots of changes that I need to make and I'm not very happy right now, and that's okay. Like if I was congruent with my unhappiness, I don't think it would have gone that bad. If I had realized that it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be not performing at your best at some times of your life. It's okay to meet with failures. I would have been not as taken aback by that certain bad emotions, really deep bad emotions I was facing at that time. So the problem lied with my congruence with my emotional state. If I didn't listen to all the people who are trying to sell me happiness, McDonald's who's trying to sell you crap food, and they say that if you consume that food you'd be happy, or the travel company which is selling you that fabulous holiday and they say that if you buy this holiday you'll be happy, or that the gym membership, or the fancy car, or the new clothes, or anything that is designed to make you happy. It's not. It's just a momentary pleasure that you get from consuming things. And another very deep thing that I realized was, look at all these celebrity suicides. People who are famous, people who are rich, people who are millionaires, people who have billions of adoring fans. They seem to have everything in life: validation, wealth, fame, love, all the fancy cars, the amazing house, everything that you can possibly imagine to achieve in this world. But they're still deeply unhappy, and in some cases they end up taking up their lives. They commit suicides, and that is really strange. I could not understand it for the longest time. Why do people who seem to have it all go through depression or end up taking their own lives? Then what we are sold on, what we are told will make us happy, ultimately does not make us happy. Because if it did, then these people will not end up taking their lives, would they? So, in order to do something big in our lives, we have to forego happiness or comfort or pleasure for a short period of time. Now, imagine if happiness was the primary goal that we aimed to have. Like, we want to be happy all the time, and that's my primary aim in life. I'm going to maximize my happiness. I'm going to maximize the pleasure units of my life. How would that life look if people only tried to be happy all the time? Let's take an example. Say that you need to lose a lot of weight, and in order to lose weight, you need to hit the gym and you need to get your nutrition in place. You need to get your nutrition handled. So going to the gym is not exactly comfortable, is it? In the short term, it's really painful. Like for the first few days, if you are not a regular, if you don't have the habit to hit the gym, it's a struggle, man. Let me tell you, when the DOMs hit, and when your muscles are sore and you're tired and your body is screaming at you, let's not do it today, let's take a break. Yeah, it's not happy, pleasurable feelings in your body. And also, if you want to become fit or lose weight and get healthier, the food, the nutrition that you need to consume, it's mostly very bland food with very little spice, very little oil. You might have some oatmeal and eggs for breakfast, for example, and they taste nowhere as good as pancake and bacon. But the upside for that is, if you keep eating the healthy diet and if you keep going to the gym for a long period of time, your life is going to be tangibly better. You're going to be healthier, you're going to be fitter, you're going to have more energy, you're going to have that youthful look and vibe about yourself. But in the short term, it's not going to be pleasurable or happiness. Let's look at another example. Let's look at entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is not easy. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of rejection. You take your product to people, and maybe your first product or service is not good enough and people reject it. And you take it personally and you feel bad. What if there's a recession and you have to cut down on your operational cost? And you might even have to shut down your business because you cannot afford to run it. It's a lot of pain, it's a lot of struggle, and a lot of, overcoming rejections, a lot of going out of your comfort zones and things like that. But if that business is successful, you have built something that will provide for you and your family and your future generation for a long time. And it will finance your lifestyle. It might help you out when you don't want to work. If it's a successful business, you can hire other people to run your business and you can take some time off. Do the things you really want to do. How about happiness and being afraid to fail? It's very difficult to succeed in entrepreneurship. And if happiness was the only thing that you cared about, you would never try a new business idea because you don't know if it will succeed or fail. And if it fails, you'll feel very bad about yourself. You'll not be happy anymore, will you? You'd be very, very afraid to fail and probably not take the new opportunity, or maybe even take the new, there might be a job opening, but it might be completely different from what you are used to doing, and there's a lot of responsibility. The pay would be much higher, your responsibilities would be much higher. The job you're expected to do is at a much higher level than you're used to. You'll never take up the job opportunity because you're afraid to fail, and failing will make you sad, and that is something you do not desire because your goal is to be happy. How about if you're only chasing good feelings? How does that make you as a person? Does that mean that you cannot take any feedback? Nobody is a perfect person. I am not. Nobody is. And the way we learn and grow is by getting feedback from other people. We have stupid ideas and we have brilliant ideas. And the ideas that are stupid, when we run them by other people who are much smarter than us, when they cross out those ideas, when they challenge you on your stupid ideas, you will not feel good. But it's a good feedback. If you take that idea, implement that idea in your life might change. It might be a better life. But if you want to be happy and feel good about yourself, then you'll never be open to feedback. You'll never be open to learning. You'll never be open to try new things. And how about this? If happiness is the primary goal of your life, how will you deal with the challenges of life? Even if you do not start a new business, even if you're not an entrepreneur, even if you're not trying to have big goals or be of service or do something big in your life, life is challenging, isn't it? Life is misery, life is pain, life is full of challenges. A lot of bad things will happen to you. People will cheat on you, they will betray you, you will fall sick, you will lose your loved ones, there will be economic difficulties, there would be physical difficulties when you fall sick and experience some kind of a sickness or a lot of pain. how are you going to be dealing with those situations if your goal is to be happy all the time? There would be no emotional anchor, and when something terrible happens to you, and it will, unfortunately, you will find it very difficult to deal with the situation and maybe even recover from it. So I think the pursuit of happiness is such a flawed idea which is taught in mainstream media, self-help and influencer circles. And that is one epiphany that I had, and I wanted to share it with you. And because of all the reasons that I gave in the previous section. Now, you might be curious that if we are not chasing happiness, if we are not doing things that will make us happy, what should our life goal be? What should we be chasing? What should be the life we should aspire to live if happiness is not a goal? How about this? How about character development? Sounds intriguing, isn't it? But it's so true. There are parts of ourselves that we are not very happy with, right? We all have those parts. It could be lack of self-discipline, or it could be bad habits, or it could be how you relate to other people, or your arrogance, or your inability to wake up early. It could be a number of those things. Instead of chasing happiness, why don't we tackle one of those things like character development, changing who we are, becoming a better version of ourselves? We all have those. I have. For years, I've had so many bad habits and so many things about myself that I wanted to change. And I've changed some of those, and I'm working on others. And hopefully I'll be able to change them. Instead of chasing happiness, move towards character development. How about meaning? How about doing something big? How about creating something? How about creating a legacy which you can leave behind? When you're no longer there, people will still be moved in a positive way by the impact you had on them. Maybe it's a beautiful piece of poetry. Maybe it's music. Maybe it's a business. Maybe it's a product. Anything that you create that adds meaning to the misery of life, to your life, is a worthwhile goal. How about being of service or being of value? How about helping other people who are not as blessed or privileged as you? How about helping them? How about helping them financially? How about helping them otherwise? Teach a man to fish and you have fed him for a life. So what that essentially means is share your life experiences, share your learnings with other people. Maybe they'll learn something important and make a change in their lives which will make their lives better. You never know. How about being more disciplined, doing something every day? A positive habit that you want to develop, which you'll think add to your life in the future. For example, reading 30 pages every day of a business book, of a finance book, of a real estate book, of a economics book, of a marketing book, of a self-help book. A small habit. Doing it for a long period of time. Yeah, these things will make you uncomfortable in the long term. These will make you uncomfortable in the short term. They are not very easy. Building a habit like reading a book, it's not going to be easy. And to be honest, it's going to suck for at least a month or so. But then you're going to build momentum, and then it's going to be a part of your life, and then you're not going to think about it anymore. But going forward, it would add meaning and depth to your life. But this is definitely much more difficult than getting short-term sensory pleasure from eating that pizza, eating that ice cream, watching a Netflix series, or going on that holiday, or buying that new car, buying new clothes or sneakers. But when you do something that is meaningful and big and beyond yourself, and that helps others, and when you serve others, you will be blessed with something completely different. Happiness will descend on you. So instead of working towards happiness, if you work on these small habits, small positive habits, or focus on building something big, invariably you will end up much more happier. And not only that, you would be content, you would be proud, you would be confident, and those positive feelings will not be rooted in something which is superficial, like your fancy car or your big house or your big educational degree, but they will be far more deep rooted. These feelings of peace and contentment and pride would be rooted on something that is more tangible, like the transformation that you have been able to make as a person, the value that you bring to the world, the challenges that you have overcome to become that person, the things that you have created that other people will enjoy till perpetuity. And that's true joy. That doesn't come from anything that we are sold on by mainstream media and other people. A deep sense of contentment and fulfillment and peace and pride that comes from achieving or creating or having lived a meaningful life serving others. Thank you so much. That was a long episode, and my voice is a bit cracked, and my energy is not the highest today. So thanks for listening in. I think the content was very good, although the delivery might have been a little off. But thanks for tuning in today. I think it's a very personal and meaningful episode for me. I hope it brings value to you, and I will be back tomorrow with more content. Till then, have a good night and have a great life. Thank you so much. Listen, thanks so much for listening to the episode. I really appreciate it. Now, if you think you have got any value out of this episode, please make sure to engage with the content. My podcast is available on all of the platforms like Spotify, like Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, Breaker, and it's also even available on YouTube. So if you got some value out of this content, please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment, or please download and share it with someone who would get value out of this. That's all I ask. Thank you so much.